Welcome to the WWE Podcast Week in Review. Tonight, we're going to talk about everything from Raw and SmackDown as Big E comes to SmackDown and confronts Roman Reigns, and somehow they already have a match at Survivor Series. We're going to talk about that. Kane returns to SmackDown to host Bianca Belair's homecoming. Becky Lynch then proceeds to spoil that homecoming, in turn fully cementing herself as a heel, and much more. Let's get it all rolling right after this. This episode of the WWE Podcast is brought to you by Stello Mints. Okay, so let me tell you why I love these mints. These are now my go-to whenever I'm feeling stressed. I work from home and I also have to work in the office. And if I have a meeting that really stresses me out, it just kind of puts me in a really bad mood and makes me anxious, all I do is pop one of these mints. It's a fast, simple way to feel more calm and clear-minded throughout your day, no matter how crazy things get. So let me give you an example. The other day I was in the office, and we started to go back to the office now that the pandemic seems to be somewhat under control, as they say. But I was back in the office, and we had to have a meeting right first thing in the morning. And right off the bat, I was assigned a massive project that I did not want any part of. It really stressed me out. I had to deliver the news to my team. And when I came back to my desk, I said to myself, this is a perfect opportunity to test out these mints. So I did. I popped two of them right in, and within minutes, I started to immediately relax. My mind started to clear. The fog lifted. It was a lifesaver. So these mints, by the way, are powered by CBD, and each tin contains 30 mints, and there's 3 different flavors you get to choose from. So peppermint, lemon, or matcha. All 3 of them are really, really good. So I would invite you guys, regardless of what your situation is. Look, my wife even tried these. She's at home with a toddler who is in crazy mode most of the day. Even she couldn't stop ranting and raving about how much these helped her throughout the day as she was trying to manage the chaos. So right now, this is exclusive to the WWE Podcast listeners. You can get 15% off of these mints right now. All you have to do is go to StelloMints.com. That's StelloMints.com, STELLO mints.com, and use the promo code WWE Podcast. It'll get you 15% off of your order. It's only for a limited time, so go make yourself less stressed. Clear your mind. Trust me. I put these things through the ringer, and I can tell you firsthand that they absolutely help you calm down, clear your mind, and ultimately have a more productive and just a flat-out better day. So go check out StelloMints.com right now and put the promo code in of WWE Podcast and get yourself 15% off right now.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, guys. Let's get things rolling here for the flagship show of the week, the Weekend Review, as we look back on everything that happened this past week in WWE. Now, as you just heard that advertisement at the beginning of the show, I do want to thank Stello Mints, who are sponsoring this episode of the WWE Podcast. You'll hear them a couple of more times throughout the next several weeks, and I really would encourage you guys to go check out StelloMints.com and get 15% off with the promo code WWE Podcast. Give it a try, guys. I really do use it every single day. It just levels me out. It's awesome. It's great. So check them out. Let's move on to the WWE Podcast. Let's talk about content here. Let's talk about what the hell's going on. And that is, to me, focused around Big E. Now, I know that many people are excited for Big E. There seems to be droves of people on Twitter and in person. They aren't just these mythical beings, these faceless, nameless amoebas on Twitter who are supporting Big E, but rather they do in fact exist in flesh and blood as human beings who have come to the support of Big E. And while I totally disagree with this reaction for Big E in his current character, I understand the support for it. I understand that he's respected in the locker room. I understand that he's respected because of his tenure and his work ethic. And there's something to be said for tenure and work ethic. No question about it. Tenure and work ethic are the foundational pieces for helping or moving forward in your organization, in anybody's organization. Tenure and work ethic cannot be taught. They just have to happen over a length of time. And professional wrestling is no different. We see fans many times get behind talent that have been there a long time and feel like they've been misused, misplaced, whatever. And there seems to be a grassroots movement for them. So I understand that. However, and here's where things for me turn, and I agree with everybody on that. Here's where things turn for me. That can't be the only two pillars that Big E stands on for this singles run as a WWE champion. It cannot be. Because if that is in fact how people are going to defend why they're excited for Big E, that he quote unquote deserves it, well, then there's a whole host of guys that you would have to then say deserve the championship as well. Cesaro being one of them. He's never had a run as a singles champion, right? Right on SmackDown this past year. So when people tell me that he deserves it, I say, why? Because he's been here a while? He works hard? Well, number one, he should work hard if you're getting paid a 6 or 7 figure salary to stay there and to make sure that you are putting in the most effort that you can, because you should be doing that, getting that amount of money every year. So that goes without saying. That's almost a given. I hate to say it. I hate to say that that's almost a given, but it's true. So you take out the whole piece that he's a tenured. Okay. He works hard. Okay, then what's left, right? And you have his character. His character is all that's left. And that's where I think the biggest difference from everyone else and seemingly just me is. And I'm not trying to be controversial. I respect Big E. I think that he is indeed a hard worker. He has never created any kind of negative publicity for the WWE. Very important there. Family man. There's nothing wrong on a personal level with Big E for me at all. And again, hard worker, everything. But why are we supposed to be celebrating Big E, the single star, when he's still a part of the New Day, still wearing the New Day gear? And we're all supposed to celebrate this as if he's made some revolutionary evolution over the last year since, quote unquote, breaking up with the New Day, which never actually happened, by the way, because everything he did just was a throwback to the New Day, his gyrations, his colors, his music, his promo style, go down the list. So I disagree with no change in character for Big E. None. Zero. That's my biggest gripe. And that ultimately, to me, is the most important. Character, promo, everything that goes into the pro wrestling presentation, to me, is more important than tenure and hard work. It is. It is, because that is what people see. That's what people gravitate or don't gravitate to. So I am just so against this Big E character, what he's currently portraying as being WWE champion. I think it's, I don't want to say it's an embarrassment. I think Kofi Kingston was more of an embarrassment as champion, the way that he acted, but Big E's not far behind. And the second they start throwing pancakes and having some kind of breakfast buffet celebration, I can see it now with, grits and eggs and bacon and pancakes and syrup. I mean, can't you see it? Can't you imagine that on Raw? Can't you imagine that? I'm not saying they're going to do it, but it's not out of the realm of Vince McMahon's sense of humor that apparently froze at the age of 14. So the character is the biggest problem that I have. Not only is it just regressive in terms of him breaking out as a single star without his own identity, but it's also overplayed, overdone, and overused. It has been for many, many years now. And somehow, the fans are still cheering and supporting this, which I know, this is why I know I'm in the minority. And I'll probably get some people on the mailbag completely disagreeing with me, maybe even angrily, and that's fine. I welcome it. And I'll stand my ground. Nobody's going to change my mind, just like I'm not going to change yours. That's not the point. The point is just to, just have a dialogue. Here's my opinion, and I'm more than welcome to hear yours. But That little bit of a rant on Big E, I'll put that aside and talk about what actually happened this week. He confronts Roman Reigns, and by the way, didn't say a damn thing. I mean, he didn't say anything to Roman. Just stood there at the open of SmackDown. And then Finn Balor comes out, and they didn't say anything. Nothing. They got no content other than Adam Pearce going, well, they're here and you're here. That must mean that they want to challenge you. As if Adam Pearce is putting words in their mouth. It was kind of weird. That was a little bit distressing if you're supposed to be putting the weight of the company on Big E's back, which right now I think it's at Roman's more than Big E, which is crazy that the WWE Championship feels secondary to the Universal Championship. That tells you how good of a job Roman Reigns has done over the last year and change. But it's kind of scary that they either didn't trust or by design, I guess, didn't want Big E to have a microphone in his hand speaking to Roman Reigns at this point. I don't know why. I was a bit disappointed. I did want to hear from Big E. I really did, because this is the first time we've seen him since he won the championship on Raw. And, we were hoping to see exactly what he had to say. And, the one thing is, too, the Money in the Bank briefcase cash-in, especially for baby faces, can we stop it? Or at least, if you're going to do it with baby faces, make them do it where it's not advantageous of a situation for them to cash in. Now, it may make them look kind of like foolish, but I think it goes against why we should care, or why we should feel it's a credible victory when a babyface wins in that manner. Now, Big E did it by giving everybody a heads up, incessantly. It wasn't a surprise, but he also did it after Bobby Lashley went through war with Randy Orton on Raw. So we're all supposed to believe this is some kind of credible victory, and yet it kind of is quite literally the opposite. So Big E confronts. We got Finn Balor confronts, and we get the Usos versus Big E and Finn Balor, who end up in a very good match. I thought it was a very good match. I mean, what did you expect? I mean, it was just four absolute professionals in the ring. We get the in stereo big ending and coup de grace, and good night the lights. They get the victory. The Usos go to the back with their heads hung, in shame, as they bring great shame to the Reigns family. And I'll say it again. Can Big E please change his finish? Please. You can't tell me it's an exciting finisher. It's not. It's not an exciting finisher. And it's not that something. It's not quick. It's not sudden. And worst of all, it looks awful. He's not executing it terribly. He's not botching it. It's, even if it was executed to perfection, is a terrible looking finishing maneuver. You can't tell me that somebody, hitting a super kick on another person is a transition move while doing a belly flop in the ring is supposed to be a finish. It's embarrassing as a finishing maneuver. And I've said this way before he became champion. It's one of my biggest gripes with him, of many, character-wise. Can we just have Big E change his damn finish? A guy that big and strong, it should be doing something a little bit more grandiose, I feel like. I mean, he's certainly capable of it. One of the strongest guys, if not the strongest guy on the roster. But I know that'll never change. Anyway, let's go on here to let's change to a different topic. I know we'll come back to them in a little bit, but let's shift gears here and cleanse our palate and talk about Rick Boogs versus Robert Roode. How about that for quite a turn? I mean, we all know what happened, right? We had Boogs win after the Boogs Cruise. Play on words for a booze cruise. Get it? Haha. Okay. After the match, Commander Aziz and Apollo Crews, they ran into the ring. They attacked Rick Boogs and Shinsuke. Crews then demanded a rematch for Nakamura's Intercontinental Championship, which, I'm a big Apollo Crews fan since he turned heel. I was really kind of distraught. Distraught's probably a really strong word. I didn't exactly lose any sleep over it, shed any tears, or felt any heartache from it, but I was disappointed. There's a better word. I was disappointed that Rick Boogs, or rather, Apollo Crews lost the Intercontinental Championship and didn't really get a full run. I feel like it was kind of half-baked, and Apollo was doing such good work on the mic. Really, really, really reinvented himself. Commander Aziz may have been a little hokey at first, and I think it started to work well and continues to work well. So it's nice to see that he's back in the Intercontinental title picture, the Intercontinental title hunt against Shinsuke. That should be a fun rivalry. And I expect Do I expect Apollo to gain it back? Probably not. Probably not. I think it's going to be on Shinsuke for a little while. Shinsuke won it just a couple of months ago. So I'm thinking that it's probably going to stay around the waist of Shinsuke for a little bit of time. And they continue to have Rick Boogs undefeated here. And I don't know where they're going with him. I mean, he's got a great body, big dude. Kind of, he reminds me of like an 80s hair band throwback in 2021. That's what it kind of reminds me of. The electric guitar. He's got that long hair. He's just kind of like a tie dye. I don't know. I feel like that's what I look at him as, is like an 80s hair band guitarist. Now, I don't know what the long-term plan is with him. I don't think they know. They just know they want to keep him rolling because Nakamura's rolling with the Intercontinental Championship. And I'd also like Shinsuke to get a little bit of a promo time. I mean, we haven't heard from him almost at all since he won the Intercontinental Championship. What it means to him, what's he doing, who his next challengers could be. I mean, we know now, but I just feel like he's silent. And I know that they feel that it's because he's limited in English that they don't want him on the mic. But I think it actually could still help him connect with fans. You're not going to grow support through Rick Boogs. So you're just not. I mean, I don't think the fans are going to turn on Nakamura or Boogs, but it'd be nice to hear from the Intercontinental Champion every once in a while, even if he's limited in English. But again, nitpick, it's not a huge deal for me. Just kind of like, hey, what, can he speak? Okay. Moving down the line. Happy Corbin attacks Kevin Owens before their planned match. The match never took place after Corbin left Owens down and out after a choke slam on the ring apron. So before this, Kevin Owens was interviewed by, I can't remember her name because I'm terrible with names, but Kevin Owens just said that he's, he knew he shouldn't have tried to help out Corbin, that he's just a piece of total garbage to his core, to his soul. And, he's going to hurt Corbin. And he comes out for his match. Corbin attacks him halfway down the ring. And that's that. I mean, no Logan Paul, which was nice. There was certainly no Logan Paul there, which I'm fine with never seeing him again on WWE TV. I don't think anyone would care, but I think we will at Extreme Rules, which is where this match is clearly being set up for, is Extreme Rules. And they're getting a little more heat on Corbin. And ultimately, here's what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to have Happy Corbin get a victory over Kevin Owens at the pay-per-view. And that's fine. You know what? That's fine. You know what? I don't even care what they do with Kevin Owens from now through January. I do not care. You know why? If you listen to my news brief a couple of episodes ago, I think, and this is just my hunch, that Kevin Owens, after his contract ends in January, is getting the F out of WWE and going to AEW, where I think he would be an amazing, perfect fit, and the fans would embrace him wholeheartedly. He's not a WWE creation. He has respect on the independents. He has made the rounds in the world of professional wrestling, and again, he's not just a Vince McMahonism. He is his own guy that I think would fit perfectly in the culture of AEW. And Kevin Owens even put out a tweet that he since has deleted saying, the countdown begins or something like that. And go listen to my news brief. It's in the title of the show about Kevin Owens to AEW. And I think it'd be perfect. So I honestly don't give a damn what they do with Kevin Owens. In fact, I would actually think that they try to build him up a little more just for the simple fact that they hope that they don't lose him, right? So this is just goodwill to Kevin Owens over the next several months, if it happens at all, to try to get him to stay saying, hey, Kevin, look what we did for you the last few months, man. We got big plans for you in the future, and which is all just a lie. It's all just eyewash. It's all just to keep you in the WWE so AEW can't have you. Not necessarily that we want you. It's just so AEW can't have you. So I think WWE, if I were them, I would at least give it a shot. But I think Kevin Owens doesn't give a damn what they offer him or what they say they're going to do. I think he is getting the hell out of Dodge, and it's going to be a massive pickup for AEW. That's my personal opinion. This is not me reporting news or starting rumors. This is my personal opinion, and I think I'm right on this one. I really, truly do. So, okay, Seth Rollins challenged Edge to one final match on SmackDown. Well, not on SmackDown, but he put the challenge out there on the show. And said that he asked everyone what he thought, what they thought would happen when he got his hands on Edge, saying it was always clear he'd put Edge down. And I like this. I really like this promo by Seth. Seth right now is doing career work. I've mentioned this before, but it's worth saying again that he has found himself now. He was floundering for a bit, kind of in between, taking big losses at WrestleManias, in and out of programs, endless programs with Rey Mysterio and others. And he has finally found this kind of hybrid version of Seth. And I love it. It's almost, it's a version of all three. What I mean by all three versions of his heel character, meaning the sniveling version that we saw with the Authority, the Messiah, and then that kind of like weird hybrid we got for a while that is now just this version of Seth. So this is great stuff by Seth. I'm loving it. He cut a really good promo on SmackDown, probably the promo of the night, and he really dragged me back into wanting to see this program again. And WWE didn't say what the injuries were to Edge's neck. They said he's recuperating at home. They didn't say he's expected to be out or whatever. And if he's back home and he's not in the hospital, that would tell you that the injuries aren't so severe that he still needs to be hospitalized. So Seth and Edge could happen sooner than we think. In fact, I would say Crown Jewel is probably the place where it happens. I think Crown Jewel is the stage in which we get a Seth versus Edge Part 3 rubber match and the final match for these two. That's really what I think, and I want to see Edge's promo really bad too. I really want to see Edge's promo regarding what Seth said. I'm just so curious. I think it's going to be Edge in a neck brace via satellite for a while, and then probably not until after Extreme Rules, and then it'll gradually build up, and he'll return prior to Crown Jewel in October. So, and if you notice too, as the theme lately, WWE has been talking about future pay-per-views before the one that's coming up has even been completed, which is usually never the case unless it's WrestleMania, right? You talk about, the winner of the Rumble is going to WrestleMania, but then there's like two pay-per-views in between, which is completely acceptable because it's WrestleMania and that's the stipulation for the Rumble match. But I have to say that this is very unusual for WWE to skip ahead not one, but two pay-per-views in the course of just a normal pay-per-view. We're in like normal time, right? We're in standard time versus daylight savings. And it seems as if something's going on here, and I don't know what it is. And what I mean by skipping two pay-per-views ahead, Crown Jewel is after this. After Extreme Rules, it's Crown Jewel. But we also had Big E talk about Survivor Series. And I'm going to talk about that right now. Again, I went through Big E at the beginning of the show. I'll leave that as it is. But Big E backstage said that it's going to be him versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wow, okay, so you're at least champion through Survivor Series. That much is true, and I don't think anybody would disagree that that's probably minimum how long he's going to be champion. I would venture to guess Big E's champion through the beginning of 2022. I mean, Royal Rumble would be, to me, the earliest he would lose it. Maybe even carrying it to WrestleMania. We'll see. But I think that it's just very strange that they went ahead two pay-per-views to November to talk about a match that just, by the way, came out of the blue. And we're all supposed to just go, oh, okay, no problem. Wait, how did that happen? And furthermore, for number one, how did that get set up? If you're telling me that it's tradition, well, no, it's not. The WWE champion and the Universal champion, that's not tradition for Survivor Series. Okay. Well, last year it was supposed to be Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, and they completely jumped the gun with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, which still was a huge mistake to me. Huge. And I still could say that almost a year later, and I don't back down from that. But I don't know where this came from. And by the way, if that's true, it's all just exhibition matches. No one cares about Survivor Series already. I mean, we'll have to see what the format is, but it's probably just a bunch of exhibition nothings which is all Survivor Series sadly has become. It's been diluted into just these matches that are inconsequential. No idea how they're set up. There's nothing on the line other than pride or bragging rights. You might as well rename the freaking pay-per-view to that. But anyway, we'll get there in a couple of months. And it's also very assumptive, right? It's also very assumptive that it's not going to be Big E and Roman on the same brand, because we have a draft coming up October 1st. Then we only have a couple more weeks of this of these individuals on the same brand, supposedly. So how does this? Who knows? I mean, and by the way, also, are champions allowed to float between brands? I know Big E is assigned to SmackDown, so it makes sense he's on SmackDown. But now, if you have Big E on Raw, why isn't Roman Reigns going to Raw? Like, why? Now, again, I just... The inconsistency here is killer to me. I don't understand if you're going to have a champion be allowed to float between brands, fine. Just tell us that. But don't do it without explaining it. And they do that so many times as if it's just normal and it's okay and no one's going to overthink it. Well, you know what? I do. And I think other fans are like, hey, wait, what are the rules? I mean, why is this so hard to follow? So we're going to get Roman Reigns and Big E at Survivor Series, as you can already see champion versus champion, which already kind of predetermines the outcome that it's going to be Roman Reigns as Universal Champion versus Big E as Universal Champion. So everything that happens with those two in the meantime means that they are retaining their championships. They kind of tipped their hand pretty damn big here. But okay, let's continue on here. Of course, the Usos also attacked Big E, and that would lead you to believe that, indeed, he is going to be getting his revenge on Roman. Liv Morgan and Toni Storm defeat Carmella and Zelina Vega via countout after Carmella suffered a quote-unquote broken nose from Liv Morgan. Carmella began screaming and refused to get back into the ring. After the match, Morgan challenged Carmella to a match at Extreme Rules. So I think Zelina Vega right now has not won a match since she returned to WWE after she was fired. Why? I don't understand it. Zelina has been brought back for what reason? She can talk better than half the women on the roster. She's good in the ring. I wouldn't say she's outstanding, but she's good. Definitely good enough to be champion. And I know they have Becky, of course, at the top with Bianca, and I understand that. But why they have Zelina Vega on a consistent weekly basis? Just get the L makes no sense. But that's another topic for another day. Right now, Liv Morgan gets a singles match at Extreme Rules. That's cool. Now, does that mean that they'll put him on the pre-show? I hope not, but I could also see that unfortunately being the case. So, all right. Well, let's move on here. Sami Zayn defeats Dominic Mysterio via pinfall after countering a frog splash into a pin. This one was interesting to me, and I think it does point to a Rey Mysterio Dominic program. And if it's not, then this is awful. Okay, let me just preface that. If the purpose of this is to get to a Dominic versus Rey Mysterio match, fine. Cool. I'm down. If this is just to try to strengthen Dominic and Rey's relationship by putting them through a rough patch, that's terrible. So one of the two is going on here. And it was brought to the attention, I think, by Michael Cole, or maybe it was Pat McAfee. Don't know which one. That we had Rey Mysterio come down week after week to support Dom, even after Dominic said, don't come down to the ring. And every time Rey Mysterio comes down to the ring, something bad happens to Dominic and he loses. And that's the same case that happened this week with Rey Mysterio I got to say, Rey Mysterio is becoming more and more annoying every week. An absolute legend, no doubt, most famous luchador of all time. But Rey Mysterio is becoming super annoying on the microphone. I don't need to hear him call Dominic son. Okay, his name is Dominic. You're the one that assigned it to him at birth. Use it. You didn't name him son. Okay. Secondly, he's taking credit for every single maneuver that went right and blaming Dom for everything that went wrong. And maybe that was by design. I doubt it. He was, every time that Dom would counter something or move out of the way or do something good offensively, Rey would almost take credit to that in part by saying, yeah, we worked on that. We've been working on that. We've been doing that. And then when something bad happens, he would almost get annoyed with Dom and say, no, Dom, you got to move quicker. You got to move. You got to do it. What are you doing? Right. And I don't know if that's by design or not. Whatever the case may be, Dominic really is on a losing streak here. And I think it's eventually going to boil over into Dominic attacking Rey Mysterio. I think that's what's going to happen. I hope. I'm on the hopeful side of this. And it's not just to show that their relationship can be strained but never broken. That would be god awful. I don't need a Saturday morning cartoon special that makes you feel good about these two. I don't need to hear Dominic be called son anymore. So that's what I hope. I really do. And by the way, Rey Mysterio talking about how, that Dominic needs to be more attentive and pay attention to the things he's saying. I don't think that distraction from Sami Zayn at the very beginning of the match, by the way, the very beginning, if you go watch it, that distraction from Sami Zayn and Sami Zayn taking advantage of Dom wouldn't have happened if you weren't out there. If you remember, Sami Zayn at the very beginning went out and taunted Rey Mysterio. Dominic went out to get in the face of Sami, who went back into the ring. And then as Dom went back into the ring, Sami Zayn took advantage and pummeled him down, which wouldn't have happened, Rey, if you weren't out there. So you were being more of a distraction than help. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see where this goes. I hope it ends in a match. And I want to see what Dominic actually has to say on the microphone, if he's improved at all, or if he's still as, fun to watch as paint dry. So, all right. Let's see. Moving on here. Before I get to the Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks segment at the end of the show, we finally were privileged with the definition of what a contenders match is. I put this out on Twitter. And I have to say something here. This is how we were defined as what a contenders match is, because I have been asking what a contenders match is. They just suddenly, all of a sudden, they popped up out of nowhere. It was just a contenders match. And I'm thinking, did they forget to put number 1 in front of it? Like, what exactly is a contenders match? Well, Pat McAfee described it to us this week by saying a contenders match means that the winner could get a future championship opportunity. That was Pat McAfee's explanation. Now, before I say anything, I will say, cool, great. They at least took the time to acknowledge what they define as a contenders match. That doesn't make it better, though. I appreciate that they acknowledged, hey, we should probably tell people what the hell a contenders match is. But the definition is awful. Why is it awful? That definition could quite literally define any match that has ever happened ever. Ever. Because any match that ever happens ever could eventually result in that individual earning an opportunity for the championship, whatever championship that they're vying for. So, but again, by that definition, every match that has ever happened ever in WWE would mean that winner of that whatever match you pick could get a championship opportunity from that victory. That's a terrible definition, Pat, or whoever came up with that. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's almost as if they're trolling us. All it is, like all that is, the reason they put contenders match as part of the stipulation, if you will, is that they don't want to just have a match with no stipulation. They just, for some reason, they can't put themselves out there without either putting a championship on the line, which they do on a regular basis. And by the way, the Intercontinental Championship is going to be on the line next week with Apollo Crews versus Shinsuke, because apparently that can't wait until Extreme Rules. I mean, we just got to blow that on free TV. I mean, there's another, just a bastardization of championship example, one of 100 over the last couple of years. But they just can't, they have to make everything feel as big as possible. And by doing that, I think you actually undermine the goodwill of fans who feel that perhaps we're not as stupid as sometimes you may think we are by just labeling something a contenders match and defining it as, well, the winner could earn an opportunity. Well, you either can or you can't. I mean, it's one or the other. Don't tell me you can. You might. Maybe. No. Then don't put a stipulation on the match. They just do it to try to garner up interest in the match that, the winner, if they win, maybe they'll be in line for a championship opportunity. Okay, well, are they or aren't they? You can't do half pregnant in sports. Which one is it? So to me, it was a terrible, probably the worst possible definition you could have given. So there you have it, folks. A contenders match per Pat McAfee on SmackDown is defined as the winner possibly or could earn a future championship opportunity. As in every single match that has ever happened ever. That's the definition we get. I just wanted to point that out. It was so infuriating to me. But I also appreciate that they at least acknowledged it, even if it was a troll of a definition. Okay. On to Bianca Belair taking part in her hometown celebration. It was cool seeing Kane come out. I was kind of hoping he'd show up as the mayor of Knox County. I don't like seeing Kane in a suit. It still doesn't work for me. To me, Kane will forever and always be the scarred, half-burned brother of The Undertaker. That is how I will always envision and remember Kane, not as a politician sitting in a leather seat in his office in Knox County. Okay, that's, I mean, good for him, cool, but it's so the opposite of how I want to remember him. Nonetheless, we at least did get the pyro from Kane, which was cool, and he got a nice pop from the crowd, so that was fun. And Bianca Belair was presented with a key to the county. What the hell that exactly means, I don't know. People get keys to the city and keys. What are we doing with this key? What exactly are we doing with this giant size key? I mean, I understand it's just symbolic, but what are they earning? Oh, we just like you, is what they say. Essentially, it's just a pat on the back and, yeah, cool, we like you. That's it. That's it. But fine. She's presented with a key to the county. And then Belair sang Rocky Top with the crowd before Becky Lynch interrupted. I'm glad for the 99.999% of people out there who are saying, great. They're going to sing a local song that we have no idea what it's about. Fine. But Becky Lynch interrupted at the perfect time, as a heel would. And Lynch said that she hadn't come to steal Belair's thunder and would accept that tonight. Unlike SummerSlam and Extreme Rules, this could be Belair's night. And Lynch offered to shake Belair's hand, but Belair wouldn't break the grip before trying to hit Lynch with the kiss of death, only to be reversed into Lynch's manhandle slam, i.e. the female version of a rock bottom. That's fine. Again, I have no problem with that. She wants to reuse it. I think it's cool. I really do. I'm all for that maneuver because it's quick hitting. It looks devastating. It's believable. I'm all for it. And Becky Lynch has fully, officially turned heel now. There's no more maybe, or I don't know, or it's kind of in between, or whatever. No, it's solidified. She is now a heel. She is now a heel, and I think they have successfully turned her. I still think it's a mistake, even though, I want to see somebody take down Becky Lynch. So kudos to them. Kudos to Becky. I do want to see Belair take her down. And that's the whole point of this, is to get them behind Becky, or rather behind Bianca and against Becky. But I still think it's a massive mistake to not at least ride the wave of a returning Becky Lynch, one of the biggest female stars of all time, to ride the wave of that fun return for a few months and then have her turn heel. To get her out there, get that social media buzz and get as many merchandise sales as you can. I mean, the shirts would have been flying off the damn shelves, as they say. So I think it's still a big mistake, but perhaps they just wanted to get Becky on SmackDown because Seth is there too, and they feel that keeping them together would be best for morale, and they both earned it, and perhaps that's what it is, and they felt that they didn't want to stop Bianca's momentum as being a babyface champion, and if they were going to sacrifice Becky and Seth being on the same show, they had to turn Becky heel. I mean, I'd love to know the conversation and the evolution of how this came to be. I would love to know it. I'm sure we'll get it at some point. I'm sure we'll get it at some point in a interview with Becky or down the line or whatever. I'm so curious to hear what and how this decision was made and whose idea it was. I'd love to know. It's fascinating, really, because they're doing a good job with it, but I still think they missed out on at least a few months of that massive, intense anticipation for Becky, and then they debuted her at SummerSlam, re-debuted her. She returned, rather, and it was just a flop of a mess. And it just made no sense. And since then they've done some nice cleanup, and they have turned her successfully heel, I think, and it will just get better from here. But as good as it's going to be, I don't think they can duplicate that anticipation for Becky returning and the merchandise and everything else. So I think I made my point. But so again, Kiss of Death, good stuff. Or rather, the manhandle slam is good stuff. I think that's good to keep the heat on Becky. Keep the heat building. I'm a big fan of heat build from even months where that heel doesn't get what they have coming to him yet, and then eventually, finally, that heel is caught and get what they deserve. So I'm all for that. I'm a big proponent of that, and we'll see if they do that or they can't help themselves, and we get Bianca getting the upper hand next week. I think that's probably what's going to happen, because Bianca's not winning it back at Extreme Rules. Let's be honest, she's not. And I really enjoy Bianca right now. Bianca Belair has really impressed me more than I thought she would when she became champion at WrestleMania. She just feels like she's been here for decades. She's got the poise. They're doing a nice job showing her background and track and field, and it was a nice homecoming and Knoxville. It was a nice feeling. But I do wonder, if Bianca Belair wasn't from Knoxville, would they even have told you where they were filming SmackDown this week? Do you think they would have? I don't think so. Vince McMahon does not like his southern cities to be mentioned if they're just quote unquote no-name cities, especially on TV. He wants to kind of be hidden and try to hide it from his audience and his sponsors and Fox of where they are. It's almost as if they're embarrassed of where they are. And had it not been for Bianca Belair being from Knoxville, I think they would have been a little bit quieter about where they are, or mentioned it very quickly, instead of when they're at Madison Square Garden and everyone mentions it in all of their promos, and it's said about every 5 minutes. So just a little observation there. But one last thing on SmackDown. We got the Fiend. Oh, good Lord. The Demon explained by Finn Balor. I really appreciated this. And I'm not being facetious or sarcastic. I really appreciated this. I have come around to being such a Finn Balor fan now, since his return from the NXT roster to the SmackDown roster. I've really enjoyed his confidence. He's not so smiley. He's not so whatever, man. Not so just turn the other cheek kind of guy. He's got an edge to him. He's solid in who he is and what his character is. I like that. And the explanation of the demon was a smart thing on WWE's part to do, because if you have new fans, the Demon doesn't come around very often. So people are probably like, what is this Demon character? Like, what is this? Why is this here? It was a nice, short, easy to understand explanation that it was just the manifestation of everyone that told him he couldn't or shouldn't or won't do what he's going to do. And he has internalized that, and the Demon summons him. He doesn't summon the Demon. That was kind of cool too. And it was believable. And it was a nice background, a nice setting, and a kind of a stairway that he was doing it. This was just well done by everyone here. It was short, to the point, and made sense. And I'm glad they took the time to explain the Demon. That was just a great touch. And have it not been for Big E or Edge or John Cena, I think Finn Balor would be right now possibly Universal Champion, possibly, because I don't know where else they would have gone had those stars not returned. And I know Big E is right now not facing Roman Reigns, although he will in a couple of months. I just think that Finn Balor is unfortunately being swept under the rug. A talent that is, like, if everything else wasn't there, we'd be saying how awesome Finn Balor is, and we can't wait to see Finn Balor this week, and he's doing such a good job. And people are kind of like talking about it in passing, but nobody's focusing on it because there's all these other bigger distractions. But we should be talking about it. We should be talking about Finn and that Roman shouldn't overlook him. And that was actually brought up on the show. But even though they say we're not overlooking him, we still all kind of are. We acknowledged it, and Roman would be happy we're acknowledging things, but it's still something we're overlooking. And it's a shame because I don't think we really understand how good Finn Balor is right now. That's a shame. And I hope at some point Finn isn't in a position where he's overshadowed by bigger stars and he can get his moment in the sun, because he's more than deserving of it. So I just wanted to point that out too. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. I think it's true. I do believe it's true that Charlotte or WWE has dropped the Flair name from Charlotte. Is that a thing? I thought, no, the only way I'm getting this, and I'm going to try to do some research while I'm talking, is actually from MJF's Facebook group or post or profile. And he said that Vince is dropping the Flair name from Charlotte. And, I don't know how true that is. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't, given all of the just awful accusations that were just had come to light regarding the plane ride from hell. I did a 20-minute spot on this, by the way. If you haven't listened to my thoughts on the Dark Side of the Ring, that did a plane ride from hell that took place on May 5th, 2002. That was the actual date of the flight. You really just go listen to my review. And before that, go watch the AEW or the Flight from Hell show on Dark Side of the Ring. It's absolutely just scary. But it's been a hell of a ride for everyone involved in that. But again, I don't know if WWE has in fact just kind of quietly removed the Flair name from Charlotte, and they're just going to call her Charlotte. I hope they don't. You know why? Charlotte isn't Rick. Charlotte didn't do anything. Charlotte should carry the family name. I'm sure that WWE doesn't want the Flair name that's attached now with a sexual assault allegation on Charlotte. Charlotte has long since broken away from Rick. Charlotte is her own made woman. Why should she suffer the consequences of her dad's sins? That's not right. But as WWE corporate would say, well, we got to do it. We got to do it. We have to. If the Flair name is tainted, even if Charlotte is that good, she's still attached to it. I could see them doing that. So the point is, let's watch on Raw if they even say Charlotte Flair. If they just say Charlotte, let's keep an eye on that, guys. I'll be very interested to see what they do there. Of course, the biggest story coming out of Monday Night Raw, as I recap Raw just a little bit, is Big E winning the championship. New Day celebrating with him. It was the worst of all worlds coming together for one. I mean, just the absolute worst. Terrible. It was awful. But that's I know everyone, including CBS Sports, everyone's giving us A+. Oh, Big E deserves it. This is the greatest. No, not with this big version of Big E. But that's me. I covered that at the beginning of the show, so I'm going to move on. I'm trying to see anything else that really was worth of note that I didn't already cover in my Raw review. I would expect Damian Priest to continue to ascend. I know he defeated Jeff Hardy on Raw in a United States Championship match. Did anyone expect Jeff Hardy to win this? The answer is no. Jeff Hardy didn't do anything to earn this opportunity, by the way. I don't think he was involved in a contenders match. Explain that to me. Rhea Ripley defeated Natalya via submission. We had Doudrop defeat Eva Marie via pinfall that exactly zero people care about. We had Drew McIntyre, the Viking Raiders, defeat Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky via pinfall after McIntyre hit Shanky with a Claymore. And I remember going through this on my Raw review saying it's fine and it's good that Drew is in a holding pattern because the shakeup is coming in just 2 weeks. That shakeup of the draft is going to really reface both brands. Very interested to see who goes where. And we can all speculate, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun to talk about over the next couple of weeks. And I believe, if I'm looking at the calendar here, we only have, we have 2 more Monday Night Raws. And we only have 1 more SmackDown because the draft begins on October 1st, which is the first, which is the SmackDown. That SmackDown's going to start the draft. So SmackDown only has 1 more week. Raw has 2 more weeks with the current iteration of the roster on Monday, September 20th and Monday, September 27th. So that's all they got to get through. I think Drew is going to be just fine. I don't care if he wrestles himself over the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't be concerned. I don't care if he gets blown out in doing a job, for Heath Slater over the next 2 weeks. I wouldn't be concerned. I think we all need to just calm down with Drew. If you're a fan of him, hold tight. Things are about to get fun with Drew McIntyre again. I think he's going to SmackDown, personally. I think Roman's staying on SmackDown. I think Drew's coming over to SmackDown. That's a big move. That's what I think is going to happen. So we'll have to see. All right. Again, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. That program's heating up nicely. I enjoyed insanely the whole doll segment, which I didn't think I would, but those two played it off very well. And credit to Alexa, who is just all in on everything she does, which is the only way this thing's working. And I expect a little more fun this next week. I expect these two to continue to heat up, continue to feel each other out, and the chemistry with these two seems to be on par. In the ring, we'll have to see, though. In the ring is hopefully not a different story. 2 professionals. Charlotte can work good with anybody. So I'm excited to see what these two can do over the next couple weeks. And, of course, at Extreme Rules that takes place in just a week, right? Oh, my God, a week away. It's crazy. I can't believe how quickly this pay-per-view came already. It's a pay-per-view week. Oh, my God, I just realized that. I'm like 45 minutes into this show, and I just realized it's a pay-per-view week. I'm so focused on the draft and everything else, and the iPhone 13 coming out, which, yeah, I'm getting it. I know everyone says, it's all the same. Nothing changes. Well, I mean, I don't know what people expect phones to do from year to year. It's only a year of technology advancement. And you can't have a totally new design every single year just to have a new design if it doesn't make sense. Everybody's expectations sometimes, I think, are a little bit too high and not understanding how tech works. And I know some people don't. And that's the big thing on Apple. Everybody says that don't like Apple. That what's different about this phone? It's the same as it looks exactly the same. I don't care if it looks the same. If it performs better, the camera's better, the screen's better. Which, by the way, all of those are true for the 13 versus the 12. Then, yeah, sign me up, man. Better battery life? Yeah, sign me up. I mean, what do you expect what do you expect these things to do? I think our expectations are blown out of the water and are unrealistic. So I'm more of a low bar guy. And that's probably why I foolishly spend $1,200 on a phone every year. So, yeah, that's real smart on my part, I know. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about is the one that I didn't was Sonya Deville and Naomi backstage. This was cool on Naomi's part. She didn't get jerked around another week. I'm glad they didn't string it out yet another week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. She cornered Sonya and got in her face and cut a real good promo on her, saying, "You're not going to disrespect me. I've accomplished more than you have." And Sonya Deville, for the most part, no-sold it. But it could lead to a Sonya Deville versus Naomi match. And I think that's probably where we're going here. I think next week you're going to have Sonya Deville come out and say, "Naomi, look, I've got your match for you. I've got your match, so you can shut up." At Extreme Rules, Naomi is going to go one-on-one with me, right? I think that's where Sonya Deville comes out of retirement to face Naomi. That's what I think. And then we'll get an explanation as to why she's being jerked around. I hope they tell us why she's being dismissed and disrespected by Sonya, not just because of reasons. I don't want her to just go, reasons. No, give me something, right? So I think that's what's going to happen ultimately. All right. Well, I think that concludes my weekend review. Again, if you guys want to check out my thoughts on the Dark Side of the Ring plane ride from hell, I'd really encourage you to do that. I was very impassioned about it, and somebody actually called me a male feminist, which I guess is a compliment. I'm not trying. Now, here's the thing: I'm not trying to be political or take one side or the other just to be a political ally with anybody. That's not my goal. I try to stay out of all that stuff. I just called it like it was. It was just a disrespectful, just awful thing to do. And if you know what I mean, just go watch the show. It's going to infuriate you, but it's also going to be eye-opening. So I'm glad I'm an ally for whoever needs me to be an ally. I'm not trying to be political at all. It's just simple what's right and wrong. And what happened on that flight is flat out wrong. Period. End of subject. I don't care if you're male, female, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. It was wrong. It should have been reported. There should have been fines. There could have even been arrests. Ric Flair should have been arrested. Instead, he got nothing. Brock Lesnar. I didn't even mention Brock Lesnar on that flight, who exposed himself, not on the flight, but previously to Terry Runnels, also known as Marlena when she was with Goldust in the 90s in WWE. And apparently she has had this happen many times. She always says, oh, no, sell it, no, sell it, no, sell it. And that's how people survive. No selling things. Basically internalize them. Don't show that you have what they did has an effect on you. Right. So I don't know. I think it was a toxic culture back then. I think to some degree, maybe it's probably gotten a lot better now, but it was just a toxic, just wasteland of just entitlement, I think, and feeling as if they were above certain guys, not everybody. Certain guys felt they were above everybody, and the rules didn't apply to them and all that kind of stuff. Nonetheless, I don't want to get into it. Go watch Dark Side of the Ring, and I think that you will feel similarly, especially about Tommy Dreamer. Boy, oh boy, who is in hot water right now, big time. All right, guys, that does it for me. Tomorrow night, on Monday night, I'm going to be joined by Anthony DeMarco. We're going to cover another What If. I'll publish it tomorrow night. And then Tuesday is our Raw review. Wednesday is the mailbag and nostalgia. And then we'll cap off the week, but it's a pay-per-view week. So we're going to be doing our preview and prediction show Saturday. Hopefully we get the Botch guy on for a typical Sunday night review. And so we got a ton of audio, a lot of no sleep for this guy. But that kind of comes with the territory. Also having a newborn, so I'm kind of used to it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. You want to reach out to us, realwwepodcast@gmail.com, or you can call us and leave a voicemail message, which will be put on the mailbag at 518-952-0247. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.